I have a fundamental distrust of digital marketing agencies, and quite frankly, anybody who espouses that online marketing is the be-all, end-all of marketing tools today. But they don't call them tools, they call them strategies, right? Don't they? See, here's the thing. Think about it. Let's go back to Don Draper, all right? It used to be that there were, when Don Draper was around... there used to be, advertising agencies, right? And that was Mad Men, and there were a lot of great advertising agencies back in those days, but and there were a lot that were not really that super at all. But then, all of a sudden, advertising agencies stopped being cool, and then they became marketing agencies, right? They didn't really change what they did. They just changed what they called themselves. They just changed the nomenclature. That's my word of the week, nomenclature. And then after that, they thought, oh, you know what, branding, that's the thing. We're a branding agency now, And then they and as online came out, it was less about trade. It was less about the banner advertising. It was more like that social media became the thing. Social media. So they became social media agencies, social media agencies. But then they got a little bit more sophisticated. They kind of came back around, and now they call themselves digital agencies. And but what has happened in here is that they have gone from, and even back with the advertising, if we go back here to, let me just find something, if we go back here to the beginning of advertising agencies, they really looked at advertising, right? And it was the unusual, agencies that actually tried to measure results. Where they were able to prove results, not from the gut, but from, and David Ogilvy was very big on this, even though he struggled with that sometimes. But he used to say that the best copywriters on the planet were those who wrote copy for direct mail catalogs, because they had to sell. All right. I digress. All right. What's going on is that with digital, the reason why I have a fundamental distrust of digital agencies is that they are actually more focused on channel or media than they are on the overall marketing, right? And if you've read my book, if you have not read my book, once again, I'm going to say shame on you, go read my book. But if you've read my book, then you know that I call it the marketing diamond, right? I call it the marketing diamond. At the top of the diamond is your market. Who's your moose? Who is the target market that you want to talk to? Then what is the message that you want to send to that market to get their attention, and then also persuade them to an action step, all right? And then you look for the media or the channel that you can use to most efficiently and effectively communicate, with your moose, with your market. And then you want to help influence and, move up the moment that they would be in. They would make a decision to work with you. So see, but it goes in this order: 1, 2, 3, 4. Market is number 1. Market is number 1. Message is number 2. Some people say that it's, some people, and I agree with this, is that essentially marketing is communication. That's really what it's all about, is we are communicating with our moose. But we have to know who our moose is. We have to know what that message is going to be to the moose. And then we think in terms of the channel that we're going to talk to them through. Digital marketing agencies, digital agencies, I should say, or if they call themselves digital marketing agencies, whatever. All right. This is where they are focused, because digital is just a channel. All right. Social media is a channel. Online Facebook advertising is a channel. It's a medium to use to communicate back with your marketplace. And so these are just tools. All right. They're not a strategy. They are a tool to use to achieve your strategy. And it's like asking yourself the question, when I was working with Nordstrom, and we're in the conversation at the table about some ideas for marketing and campaigns and stuff like that, and the question that kept being asked by people at the table was, what would Barbara think about this? How would Barbara feel about this, right? Would Barbara be there? And and I'm going like, who's Barbara? Why isn't Barbara in this meeting if she's so important to us? And they all laugh and they say, hey, Barbara is our customer in our mind, right? And this was before I had ever heard the term avatar being used in the marketing sense. This was years ago, and yet they were very, very focused on who their specific moose was and how to communicate with her best. But an important part of this was that you talked about her first, and then you determined, okay, how would she feel about this message, and then what is the medium? And back then we're talking about, is it newspaper advertising? Is it direct mail? Anything like that? Maybe even some type of TV advertising or something. But we didn't think about that until we thought about the other things, and that the tool that you use, it is something that the moose is already, they are already there. Okay, they are already there, but they also are predisposed to hearing your message. So why do I say that? And why, you've all heard me talk about the marketing diamond before, but they have to be predisposed to hearing your marketing message. So are they predisposed on Facebook to hear your marketing message? Are they actually looking for your marketing message? Or would they be looking for your marketing message on Instagram? Or are they looking for your marketing message on LinkedIn? I don't know that. See, I have to know who your market is first before I can decide. Or are they predisposed to get a catalog in the mail? Are they predisposed to get a direct mail piece? Are they predisposed to even TV or billboard or something like that? What are they predisposed to that they are in? Okay, are they in that community, and are their ears open to hearing what your message is? See, even if you go into a community where they are hanging out, they might not necessarily want to hear your message. And this is when you are you a welcome guest in their community, or are you an annoying pest in their community? And just because they hang out there doesn't mean that you can just go in and bombard them with messages. And marketing is essentially communication without face-to-face. That's essentially what it is. And you want to be able to reach out to people who are predisposed and ready to hear from you. But think about digital marketing agencies who are trying to tell you that you must spend 100% of your efforts online. Essentially what they are saying is they have a hammer and everything looks like a nail. And everything looks like that nail. And that is no different than if back many years ago, if an agency had decided to call themselves, we are a fax marketing agency. It's the exact same type of phrase, same type of definition, is that it's a tool, and they're saying they are professionals at fax marketing, and we are professionals at digital marketing. Well, what about all the other media that are out there? What about all the other channels that are out there? Think about that the next time you have a conversation with a digital marketing agency who says, this is the only road to the top of the mountain. Because my feeling is, no, there are a lot of roads to the top of the mountain. Do I know what the perfect road is for you? Not really. Not really. Not until I get into a conversation with you and I find out who your market is and what your message is. And until I know that, I don't know what tool to use. Think about it. This is Steve Miller, better known as Kelly's dad and marketing gunslinger. Thanks for joining me again this week for another Uncopyable Business video. I will be back again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. In the meantime, always remember, be uncopyable.